What is up, guys? Welcome into another episode of From the Wing. I am Christian Clark, the Pelicans beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, coming at you early Monday morning from the study in my parents' home. I drove to Dallas this weekend to attend a friend's baby shower. It was a very nice day yesterday. It was a very hot day yesterday. I think I'm going to be back on the road to New Orleans on Tuesday. Fun little 8.5 hour drive, Adam.
Just casual 8-hour drives. Look, that sounds like pain to me, especially because now when I think of drives that are longer than 2 hours, I think of them with a near 2-year-old in the car. So it would be so much worse for me.
We have a 10-year-old fat Australian cattle dog in the backseat.
Oh, well, if Lou Daddy's in there, I'm sure it's not a complete picnic.
Yeah, he gets strapped in. I think about like giving him a trazodone. We don't give him a trazodone. He eventually settles down. He's fine. It's all good. All right, we got a good show for you today. We're going to talk about the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. I was able to report a few more of those details over the weekend. We're going to talk about Josh Hart comments that he made that riled the Pelicans and their social media team and a lot of the fan base up. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about Megalopolis, the beautiful disaster, I think, of a movie from Francis Ford Coppola. This has nothing to do with the Pelicans. I'm reading all this stuff. I needed to talk about it with somebody, and it's August 26th. So why not? I mean, we won't do this often, but it's like, look, it's August 26th. If you just want to shut the pot off after the first two topics, I don't blame you. If you want to stick around and just hear about the insanity of the making of this movie, which I can't wait to see in September, stick around. So be it. All right, Adam. So look, a couple episodes, we talked about the Pelicans' new local TV deal. I reported at the time, hey, look, the Pelicans, they're breaking up with Bally Sports, Diamond Sports. Think of Bally Sports and Diamond Sports as one and the same. Diamond Sports was the parent company of Bally Sports. On Friday, we learned that Diamond Sports will continue forward with 13 NBA teams this season. The Pelicans, obviously not one of them. The Mavericks are the other one. I've been talking to a lot of people over the past few weeks. From what I can tell, 8 to 10 of the Pelicans games in the New Orleans area are going to live on Fox 8. The vast majority of these games are going to be on something called the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. The way I'm thinking about this is like an RSN, but if an RSN lived over the air. The Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, whenever it gets up, will have its own signal. You'll be able to get it with a digital antenna if you want to get it that way. I've been told that there have been early discussions with cable and satellite companies. We'll see if anything happens there. I honestly don't know. And what kind of content will live on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network? Well, 65 plus Pelicans games. There's already discussions of getting high school games on there. I think there's a chance that Birmingham Squadron games could be there. And I think, a lot of the in-house content that the Pelicans and the Saints are already doing it is going to be there. I guess I'm saying this now because I thought, hey, look, like when I wrote that really big story like several weeks ago, I thought Gulf Coast Sports Entertainment Network, I brought up then, I thought it would be okay, this is going to be years down the road. And from what I can gather in the past few weeks, this is something that's going to hopefully happen sooner rather than later, not years.
Yeah, so that's good news. And also like all of this is like, for the fan is like a little unsettling because we just don't know what to do yet. And the season's away. So you're curious now. Like I've seen tweets and discussion where like Bally's, who's been like a terrible partner, who couldn't broadcast like 3 of the first 5 games last year. People are like, at least with Bally's, I knew where to go. So we definitely have some cleanup to do here. We're definitely going to need some help figuring out like how this is all going to work and where it's going to be. Sounds like that's going to go to the wire a little bit. But at the same time, like from the larger perspective, like taking the long view on any of this, taking the business view on any of this, like you had to pull the plug and it's time to make the move. Like, you could have taken another check, but realistically, you're going to have this lift to build this new station and to put your content somewhere else. The lift is always going to be there. So, okay, do you do it now or do you do it next year? It's not going to feel that different. So you may as well just pull the trigger, get there early. You know, it's apparently like just us, and you said the Mavericks are the other team, the Spurs and everybody else re-upped and are just going to take the check again. And look, I would bet that their fan bases are not super thrilled about it. I know I saw some OKC fans that weren't the happiest. So yeah, we just need instruction. My big concern now is just like, will the team come through on execution? Will
Mm.
you like? I don't doubt that they'll get the station, like the broadcast, up in time. Are you also going to roll it out by giving clear instructions in an easy way via a multitude of methods to fans to make sure that on day one they know where to go? Because like, this is fine, this sounds great, it sounds like it could be really really beneficial. Are you going to stick the landing? And I suspect it's going to be a little messy. I just, I would imagine we'll be able to like, they won't lose fans because the first few games are poorly informed, and then they'll probably do something to try and clean it up. But they should really be focused on that part, because that's the hard part. Is you need to migrate people over. You need to help them get over. You need a giant media package to roll out to say, here's where you got to go. Here's where it's going to live. If it's going to be fast channels on Samsung and Roku or something like that, like get those deals done and say where they are. And it's the end of August. We're not that far away.
And yes, to your point about it being late in the game, I actually I don't think that's the Pelicans' fault. This is all due to the fact that Diamond Sports is in this bankruptcy proceeding, and it keeps dragging and dragging and dragging and dragging. Like,
Yep.
we just learned on Friday with training camp and media day, like a little more than a month away. Okay, Diamond will for sure be able to continue making payments to 13 of these teams for the rest of the season. Like, this is very late in the game. When I reported the Pelicans going back to Bally Sports story a couple of years ago, I think that happened in May or June. Like, that was, I think it was June. It was very early summer, and that is when this stuff should have transpired, right? Like, we should have learned, like, the Pelicans were either re-upping with, Diamond Sports in June, or no, we're gonna leave and we're gonna go to this over the air partner, and there's going to be this new channel in June. Like, this stuff should have happened months ago, but it didn't, because Diamond Sports is in this bankruptcy proceeding that, man, it's just it's a real problem for the NBA. I don't hear people even talking about it enough. Like, this is a huge problem for almost half the NBA teams. I mean, locally, it's almost, I mean, it is true. Like, I think the NBA cares a lot more about the TV product nationally than locally, and as they should. I mean, they make a lot more money that way. We talked about the $77 billion deal that Adam Silver negotiated over 11 years that is going to net the league and the players $7 freaking billion a year solely off the national TV deal. But this is a huge deal, and I agree with you. The educational component from the team is going to be so important. As far as the timeline, I looked up last year when the TV broadcast schedule came out, like the list of all 82 games and like exactly what channel every game is going to be on. It was September 18th. So if you're going off last year, it could be mid-September before we know. Here's how to find every single game. And yes, the educational component is going to be huge. If the Pelicans do not do a TV antenna giveaway with, hey, you can literally get almost every freaking Pelicans game for free if you just plug this little thing into the back of your TV. And if they're not going to like every bar and restaurant that shows Pelicans games or wants to show Pelicans
Right.
games, and like giving them a digital antenna and explaining this to them, I think it's a huge failing. And we'll see. I mean, sometimes they've been good at that stuff in the past, sometimes they haven't, but, like, that's gotta be a part of it too. I'm hoping they nail this, because there's a real opportunity here to make this good. Everything I'm kinda sensing from them is, like, we know we screwed this up a couple of years ago. We know this has been a huge problem for us for years, and, like, what I was told was, we know we're gonna have to dramatically expand the reach to offset the money we're giving up doing this deal. Like, if we don't greatly expand the reach, like, we're gonna we're gonna feel it in our bottom line, basically.
I mean, it's good to hear that there's awareness. And like you said, it's more of like a 50-50 coin flip is how it feels like it's gonna go. But like at the end of the day, and I'll say this over and over again as fan nerd business person, they have to do this, and it doesn't make sense to wait. And I think all of those teams that are hanging on to Diamond and that are going to play this legal game out, I think they're all making a mistake. This At no point has Diamond showed you that they are competent at this or had a future looking business model. They were in this to hold rights and then to try to sell them to somebody. The big buyer never came, and their expenses ran way higher than even the interest payments on their loans. So if anybody choosing to stay around that, like that, it was a good decision to get away from that. And it's a complicated subject. Like getting into that with the NBA, like you get into one of the biggest question marks I have of like David Stern versus Adam Silver is the lengths Stern would have gone to get uniformity in recreating the NBA's TV package. And when I say uniformity, I mean from the teams themselves, because the thing you're battling against is the fact that part of the valuation of the New York Knicks is MSG Television, a station of their own that does incredibly well, that makes them tons of money, and the Lakers have something similar. So like when you ask those two teams their opinion on TV topics, they tell everyone screw off, don't touch my money. Whereas you have the smaller markets who need help getting value out of a deal like that. So they've gone to in the past these regional sports networks like Bally's. And now that's gone, tits up, and you got to find a new solution. But like, MSY and LA and MSG TV are always going to have their objection to this whole proceeding. And Dolan made his negative thoughts known as soon as they struck a deal. So it's a tough spot. They made a good call. Now they got to execute on it, and it's a high wire act because mid September, that's a couple weeks away. So very very interested to see how it plays out. But at the end of the day, this is a better decision for everybody. This will eventually get games to more people. I just hope they help that be sooner rather than later. And just don't get lost in any of like the little things, like overdo it, over deliver on the marketing and the communication, over deliver. If you think it's enough, it's not. Do more. Because a lot of people have very, very strong feelings about how broadcasting and how reception of games has been. And you need to touch those people and make sure that they feel good about this when it starts. They should be excited. We should all be excited when this comes. And right now it's very tentative.
All right, let's talk about what Josh Hart said. I actually don't know when he said it. I just know like when the clip hit the internet, and then the internet got mad. Josh Hart is doing a podcast now with his New York Knicks teammate Jalen Brunson. It's called The Roommate Show. There was some event that, I guess, a Fanatics event or whatever, where they're on stage with Tom Brady and Lil Wayne, Michael Rubin, maybe kind of a grifter, bringing
Shadow
people,
owner.
maybe bringing people together in the real world to do podcasts. Josh Hart said this to Lil Wayne, which was like in person, which was really like one of the weirdest parts about this. I would say this: I don't think you'll ever hear anyone say they're excited to get traded to New Orleans. I wasn't, but the only thing I was excited about, boy, was rolling around in New Orleans, listening to Lil Wayne, going to every game, man. Yeah, that pissed off the fan base, and I think it was a mistake because Josh basically, tried to do damage control in a series of tweets. And here's like the most important thing about this now, Adam. Look, I think it was a mistake because like the fan base showed him nothing but love, and just like don't shit on a fan base that showed you nothing but love. But like it's just inaccurate. And I know it's inaccurate because I saw DeJounte Murray quote tweet, some of it, and basically been like, Yeah, he's speaking for him. Like, I was excited to get traded here, and that seemed very genuine. So I think that's my biggest note on all of this, and I have a lot of thoughts on, like, Josh Hart and his tenure here, and I actually kinda wanna defend him a little bit, but, like, this was bad, and it's also just inaccurate. It's like, good players are excited to get traded here now.
Yeah, so it's I guess it's inaccurate now. So like I will do like some small defense, which is
Oh,
stupid.
what wow, I thought you were just gonna, like, crush him.
Well, I mean, I do want to crush him, and I will. But
Okay.
relatively speaking, like we hear all the time that people want to go to LA, New York, and Miami. Like they want to go where they want to live. And I get why there would be some challenges to hearing that you're going to go live in New Orleans. I get that. However, that's the end of the defense. It's already over. Um, the when you're a role player, and look, last season be damned, when you're a role player who is more than anything else a hustle energy guy, and everyone loves you from the second you're here to the second you leave, and people still whine every day that he's not still on the team and call it like a mistake. Like it's one of those like goofy players where you're like, okay, losing Josh Hart did not like seismically change the roster or the implications of the roster, and he helped you get CJ McCollum, who's been like overwhelmingly impactful here. And like, thank you. For me, it's always been Josh Hart. Thank you for your service because you got me CJ McCollum.
Mhm.
You dropped the price on CJ McCollum, so thanks, appreciate it. I have always been like, I have an appreciation for the hustle guys, but when you don't do something repeatedly well, when I can't count on any of the things you do to all show up at the same time, then it's fine. You're a rotational player. You're nice. It's fun to watch you dive over the chair sometimes. This is just like an easy whiff. Like this is like a
Yeah.
strange, like it's
It's an unforced error.
it's a 70 mile per hour fastball right down the middle, and you just looked it into the glove, down 2 strikes. It's crazy.
It was stupid. I just don't understand what he was thinking. Like, was he just like, "I'm gonna drive engagement here, ha, ha, ha." I mean, I don't
I
get it.
think I think it was just I like look, when this happens, I think dudes get casual and get comfortable when they're around their friends on some of these media events. And like, they always like spice things up a little bit. And I think what you saw is a reflection of some stuff him and dudes have probably talked about before. I'm sure it has been a thing. I'm sure it is a talking point. I'm sure they rag on tons of cities. I bet you they still rag on Oklahoma City. I bet you they've ragged on Dallas in the past. Like, I bet you all of those markets that aren't Miami and LA have all gotten ragged on before. And so, like, I think you saw a little bit of truth in there. And it's a shame that, I think the biggest thing here is just the lack of judgment to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go shit where I ate, where everyone loves me and make them hate me. And like, look, we're a sensitive town. While there is not a rampant basketball fandom here. The people that have been watching this for a long time, we're all diehards. So I don't know.
Yes. I mean,
I end
like,
up in a
as
weird place with him
As
now.
Drew Brees loves to say, "If you love New Orleans, it'll love you back." And then the part of that that is unsaid is, if you hate New Orleans, they will try to poison you and tie you up and just beat you with sticks until you're within an inch of your life.
Yes. We will stock with soap and beat you over the head with it. Yes.
They will get a, pillowcase and fill it with rolls of quarters and then
Yes.
beat you with it till you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, it is uh it's such a weird thing to get during the off season, like to just randomly get some like casual slander for an entire city. From a like they should just be better at marketing at this point. Like you're doing mass marketing and mass branding and everything. You normally don't want to crap on cities by name. Like there's so many ways you can do it and like hide what the location is and stuff. You've been to a few places now, but no, it just slap it on New Orleans and call it a day. And then like don't try to back down. Like this is the thing. Like I said this about Noah Lyles as well. Like just stand on it. I'll respect you more if you stand on it than if you immediately are like, "Oh, no, actually." Like just say, "I loved my time there, but when I got traded there, I wasn't happy about it." You can say that. If you own that, you stand on it. Eventually, I'll just leave it alone. But if it's immediately, you know, oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that. Uh, nah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I saw people going back to 2019 and seeing what his reaction was when he got traded. He posted this picture to his Instagram story in 2019 of him smiling, and looking very happy and a little mischievous. And I think that was more, I'm happy to leave this dysfunctional Lakers situation than anything. I think that 2018-19 season, like a lot of the people who were a part of that when LeBron was just campaigning for a lot of these
Get
guys to
off
get
my
moved for
team.
Anthony Davis. That was not a fun basketball experience, I don't think. Look, here's here's one of my takes about Josh Hart's time in New Orleans. He spent 3 years here, played for 3 different head coaches. He had Alvin Stan and Willie Green. He loved playing for Willie Green, and I think he had a pretty good experience that 3rd year, which was a partial one for him. He was part of the team that started 3-16. That kind of, picked itself up and was in a place where it could trade for CJ McCollum, and then they made the play-in tournament in the playoffs. But I think Josh Hart is a little bit mad, and I think there's some merit to this because I think he feels like the Pelicans messed with his money. Josh Hart in the summer of 2021, this was coming off this Stan Van Gundy, failed experiment. This was coming off the COVID season, signed a 3-year, $36 million deal, $38 million deal. Only $12 million of it was guaranteed. Like, Josh Hart's stock was so low in the summer of 2021 that he effectively got 1 year guaranteed at $12 million. I mean, this was kind of a football style contract. I think Josh he's spoken about that, like, he was hurt by this. Like, he's talked to, I think Bleacher Report about this, of like, yeah, that really wounded me, that the Pelicans only thought, like, I'm this guy who's should get 1 year guaranteed. He's since signed like an $80 million deal with the Knicks. He's gotten his money right. But like, I think Josh is a little bit mad that when he was here, the Pelicans were such a dysfunctional situation that his money got messed with a little bit.
Yeah. So at the time, Josh got one of the most tradable contracts ever. And I don't know if people remember like what was going on at the time, but like his market was dead. And him and his agent need to own some of it too. Like the Pelicans were dysfunctional and it did, how he played and whatnot. But he also just is not that impactful of a player on a night to night basis in stat columns that matter to demand more than that. I was shocked when he signed a guaranteed 1 year that was essentially a multi-year deal where the team could toss him at any point. So it's really, really appealing. Like, to just quick overview for people listening, the reason that's appealing, if I have you on a low number and I can keep you on that low number every year, but I can opt to toss you every single year, you're gonna get passed around the league. Like, that is what that contract is made to do. But you also could have not signed it and been a free agent and signed that way and rebuilt your value. And the place where I assume there was an issue is like it's the valuation of the talent. And at the time, like, hustling for loose balls and shooting 30% from three, it just is okay. Like, you got a 1 year deal. There were probably multiple iterations of that. Like, at the end of the day, you and your agent signed that. So it's hard for me to have sympathy when, like, that's transparently going to get you moved around a lot and jockeyed around a lot. I totally get why you wouldn't like it. Then don't sign it. Don't sign it. Go to FA, be upset. But if you sign it, I just struggle for you to get upset at that point.
I think he said that as soon as he signed it, he knew there's a good likelihood that he was going to get traded. He was correct. He was the best player that the Pelicans moved to go get CJ McCollum. The Pelicans sent Josh, Nikhil Alexander Walker, who, was like not really a competent NBA player at the time. Nikhil is he's found himself,
Yeah.
post CJ McCollum trade. And then Didi Luzada, Pelicans
Hey.
legend, the former 35th overall pick. And I think there was like a pick that Griff Griff basically like traded a first round pick twice in that deal. weird protections. But, anyways, yes, Josh Hart, I think, gave great effort here. Was a small part of that turnaround effort in that season where they made the first round and helped the Pelicans get CJ McCollum, which has been an unequivocal win for this franchise. This is the last thing I got in this. Is he going to get booed? Is he going to get booed inside Smoothie King Center?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, he is. Yes, that was literally going to be the next thing I said. Was
Okay.
like, I can't wait to see you, because the next time we see you in New Orleans, he's not just gonna get booed. Anyone he runs into on the street or anything when he's here in the airport, anybody who recognizes him is gonna be like, damn, like you, ugh. Like you don't get the warm and fuzzies here anymore. You're not gonna get the my baby, hey, how you doing? How you been? Loved you when you got. No, you don't get that anymore. You're now anti-New Orleans. We all know it. It's out there. So now we're gonna be anti-Josh Hart. And I'm sure, look, people got oddly sycophantic with him when he was here. He's one of those role players that like got like a little bit of a standum, which was strange, which is like, you know, we can get into the dynamics of that because that's existed for a lot of weird people in the past, like even like back to Ryan Bowen days. I'll be interested to see how his first run goes because he will very likely still get some applause. Like people did still like him here, but that first time his name gets announced here, I hope hellfire rains down. Just got to get it out of our system.
Hey, look, he made his own bed. I mean, you did this to yourself. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, don't say stupid stuff in front of a microphone if you don't want to get booed. That's kind of what it is.
Don't smoke a layup on an open breakaway.
All right, Adam, let's finish up with something that has nothing to do with basketball. The Francis Ford Coppola movie, Megalopolis. Everything I have seen about this movie has just blown my mind a little bit more. There's finally a release date. It's September 27th. Uh, this is a movie about Adam Driver, basically, who's an architect. He's fighting with the mayor of like a city that looks like it's kind of a mishmash of New York City and ancient Rome in determining how to rebuild it after a disaster. Adam Driver can stop time. It's dystopian. It's a sci-fi. Francis Ford Coppola, who is 85 freaking years old at this point, self-funded this movie. He sold a winery to make this movie. He's pumped in like $120 million of his own money. Everything about this has just been bonkers, and I can't wait to see it. Francis Ford Coppola is apparently smoking pot on set, trying to kiss extras. There was a trailer last week, which it had all these quotes from film critics, and it was like, they've doubted him before. Nobody has believed him in the past, and he's come through with genius pictures. Like there was a quote from a movie critic calling The Godfather like overly artistic, and it turns out they just made all those quotes up. None of them were true, and they quickly had to yank the trailer. Are you gonna go see Megalopolis? Are you into this? Are you just like, this is funny, but I don't need to go see this?
Francis Ford Coppola passion project, Christian Clark passion project. This is look, I have been generally aware of the making of this for a while, and like the writing of this script for him has been happening since like 1983. Like this has been going on for 40 years. So, and there were iterations, like in his mind, there have been iterations of this cast, which shockingly featured a lot of the people from The Godfather. And as he didn't get it made, they died, and he started replacing them with other people. So, like Dustin Hoffman is now included where James Caan used to be. Which, wow, James Caan reference on a Pelicans podcast that's going to get listened to by 27-year-olds. This movie, the story behind this movie is just like, it's psychotic. The idea that somebody wants to make this like crazy high budget movie to the point where he sells off his business ventures to make it happen. But like, hey, you can't take it with you when you die, so you may as well, get one last misogynistic production set done before you go. And yeah, this is I am I'm definitely at least morbidly curious, but the cast is so huge. And like honestly, the trailer's kind of wacky, like to the degree where like reminiscent of like Interstellar and Tenet and stuff like that. Like it's definitely got that like deep sci-fi feel to it. The idea of like New York meets the Coliseum is like I am intrigued, and down to the point of like putting in like it's the mayor is Frank Cicero and everything. Like we're leaning right into the Roman history here. Um, I'm curious. Do I know if I'll make it into a theater to see it? I do not. But that's more a limitation of my child than it is anything else. When you get that time away, that 2 or 3 hours, it's hard to make it be a movie when you get away from the toddler because like just of the bevy of options you have, it just tends to be like lower on the totem pole. And like just what's happening to movies where like it's out in theaters for like a week and then it's in your home. Like we're skipping steps and stuff, and the giant releases. This looks like it's going to be a traditional giant release. So maybe like if it gets initially good reviews, maybe like if people say it's awesome, it's crazy, then yeah, we might.
Yeah, I mean, I think the stuff I've seen, like this is already screened at Cannes Film Festival or whatever, and the stuff I saw coming out of there was ambitious but kind of incomprehensible. There was a Vulture review, and the headline was "Megalopolis is totally nuts." And there's a line in there that says, "At one point, Adam Driver does the entire to be or not to be soliloquy from Hamlet. Why? I'm not exactly sure."
Sounds like a blast.
What?
Sounds like all of my friends who go see bad horror movies are gonna love this.
Yeah, I'm in.
So you're jacked up. Like, yeah, like so tell me like how long have you known about this movie and everything? Like I've been aware of it for like the like it pops up once a year, I feel like, as like a back reference in like an article on a website that's like, oh yeah, Francis Ford Coppola is still trying to make that thing.
I think when I heard he was selling, basically his own winery to do this, I mean, I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." I need to like, I think I'm just interested in, like, these people who've had these great careers in Hollywood who kinda just can't let it go, and, like, they're dipping into their personal fortunes to get stuff made, like, Kevin Costner with Horizon, for example, like, I was one of the few people who saw Horizon Part 1 in theaters, which
Now
I wanted
available
to
on
like it.
HBO Max.
I wanted to like it. It was unfortunately not very good. There was supposed to be 4 parts that came out in movie theaters. I don't know if that's still the case because part 1 performed so poorly, unfortunately, but, like, Kevin Costner spent a lot of his own money to get this made. He got a divorce, which if you read the stuff around it, like, it kinda sounds like his wife was like, "Kevin, you've had this great career, like, we don't need to sell our freaking beach house for you to make this project when you're like, just enjoy retirement, basically." So I am just generally interested in, like, people who wanna keep hanging on, and they'll even, use most of their personal fortunes to make this because they are artists, Adam. They are artists, and they believe in their vision.
I want to say things, but I have an oddly close enough proximity to Kevin Costner that I'm going to keep my Kevin Costner takes to myself a
What?
little bit. Um, yeah, legitimately I'm only 2 steps removed from him. We can talk about that at a later
Wow.
date. There's a video of him on my phone, actually, um, from my buddy's wedding. So yeah, he look, it's wild when you get to the end and you can't see the end of the tunnel anymore, and you kind of gassed up on the years and years of what everybody's always told you about how great you are. And like in Coppola's world, like he's made such staggering movies so far apart, and now like being close to the end, like he may actually be like a little senile here at this point, like at 85. So he's just like trying to get this done because it's a thing he's always said he was going to do. It's it's interesting. The only thing I hope it isn't is like a sad commentary on the later years. You know, like in the book of Francis Ford Coppola, I just hope the like final chapters of the book aren't like, and then he went crazy and did that and like torched his life to make this movie that turned out to be horrendous. and actually like damaged some people's careers. As long as it's not that, then it's fine. But like, look, people are making all kind of awful stuff. So in a world like we've recently discussed, in a world where everything that gets made is prior existing IP, and this is not, I'll take it.
Yeah,
And
respect
if
to
he's
people
willing to risk
actually
his
trying
own,
to respect to people trying to say something new.
yeah, and if he's going to risk his own money and everything to do it, like who the hell am I to criticize?
No, I
So
admire it a little bit, like, I think it feels foolish, but I also admire it. It's like, wow, you're putting your own money on the line. Francis Ford Coppola, Kevin Costner, like, wow. I hope it works out.
it's weird. It feels like almost like 1930s, 1940s gold rush. Like I'm gonna go over there to the other side of the country and I'm gonna make it. We're gonna sink a pickaxe into those hills that I'm coming back with gold, and we're gonna live fortune filled lives. And then you die of dysentery on the way there. Um, that's
Yeah, I
that's gonna
mean,
be that's the feel here.
for my Horizon heads, just one of the worst sex scenes I've ever seen in a movie, like, recently. I was like, what, like, Kevin Costner was like a mummy while it was happening. I was like, "Man, let me let me be your intimacy coordinator here." Like, I have a lot of notes, Kevin Costner, but alright, Adam, I did not think we would get to this place early on a Monday morning, but we did. A little shorter episode, but that is what we got for you guys. We're gonna have some exciting announcements coming up soon on the show. I'm really pumped about it, and training camp is gonna be here before we know it, man.
Yeah, my wife will have complaints pretty soon. We got the EPL back, and in a couple of months, basketball's already going to be back, and she's going to be like, "Wait, I thought it was gone," and I'll be like, "Yeah, it's been gone. What are you talking about? It's crazy how fast time flies." And this is like the dead period. College football's back. For us, that icon on your hat won 4-0 the other day, so we got to see how that's going. We got to get one more defender in here before we close out this transfer window. Shout out to my three Pelicans fans who are Tottenham fans. My three guys, I can name them. So yeah, been a fun little off season. This one hasn't dragged as much. There's been stuff mainly because we've been girding our loins for something that happened with Brandon Ingram, and it never happened. So now we're running out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this has just been a better offseason because Zion is clearly bought in, and
Yes.
last offseason, the storylines were what they were. All right, I'm leaving it there, Adam. You gotta go to work. I gotta make another coffee. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.